Now, just because a culture rejects monarchy doesn't mean it rejects all forms of social hierarchy. The United States might have kicked out the aristocracy in 1776, but now, in its place, it has celebrity culture. You couldn't get a more vivid representation of this than Meghan Markle. Markle is a product of American culture, having achieved the fame she so desperately craved as an actress in the TV series Suits for 8 years until 2018. This fame has given her a sense of self-importance that even the most senior members of her husband's family, the Royal Windsors, could barely imagine. While being born into royal duty gives one a sense of the inherent values of a particular system, fighting your way to the top of celebrity culture gives you license to spout the most appalling nonsense with an even more appalling amount of virtue. Only weeks ago, she was claiming members of the royal family had made racial slurs about her children. Even if the royal family had racist tendencies, and they don't, this claim would still be implausible given that the ethnicity of Markle's children is almost identical to that of the Windsors. Such is Markle's gall, however, that on the weekend she joined her husband, Prince Harry, and his brother, Prince William, and his wife, Catherine, to meet mourners outside Windsor Castle. To Harry, William and Catherine, it was a solemn duty to be with well-wishers who shared their grief. To Meghan, it was another opportunity to bask in the spotlight. My next guest is Alexandra Marshall, who will describe how the pop culture world responded to this moment. Alexandra, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, let's start with Meghan's audacity, shall we? Did you notice any sign of her feeling regret for having insulted the Queen's family only weeks before she died?
Of course not, but Meghan's problem is not what's currently going on now. It's that the entire history of Meghan's life, Americans in general have this perception of royalty as portrayed by Hollywood, which is the pursuit of fame and wealth and privilege, whereas the British people, they understand that royalty is actually about service and devotion and humility and empathy with the people. And so Meghan has always, from her earliest beginnings of the royal family, struggled to reconcile what she perceived royalty to be with what royalty actually is. And that's part of the reason that the public split from Meghan so early on. They sensed this difference. And Meghan still, to this day, struggles to understand what empathy is. And we could see it with Kate as she, the Princess of Wales, as she walked among the people with her husband, the Prince of Wales. They understood the public grief and they interacted with the public in a respectful manner. But again, Meghan's was all about the camera and how to behave and how it's going to look in the press. And that is simply not what royalty is. And it's never been more true than right now. While the nation is grieving this sense of history and grandeur, and Meghan, the Hollywood version of Meghan's royalty just doesn't fit with the British perception.
Well, yes, on Meghan's side, you've got the vacuousness of pop culture. And on the side of Kate and William, you've got people playing meaningful roles, you know, even if they are aristocratic and born into it. But that contrast is pretty stark, isn't it?
Well, the Queen isn't one of the most loved figures in the world because of her inherited position as Queen. It's not the sovereign title or the crown or the jewels or the palaces that give her this affection. It's her service to the public. That is how she has created this amazing persona that people are mourning today. And the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, has a similar empathy with the public, and they see her as one of the most beloved members of the royal family. I think that in some respects, Meghan thought that when she was crowned princess, if she looked beautiful, if she went to the chapel and she donned all the glitz and glamour of royalty, that would somehow make her as famous and loved as the Queen. But that's simply not how this relationship works with the public. And good on him, Prince Charles, who is now His Majesty King Charles III, seems to have adopted his mother's sense of duty, and he's a changed person that we've seen in the last few days.